Welcome to our Aquarius new moon circle. Namaskar. My name is Vina Lene Rachel. For those that are tuning into the recording, of course, if you are here live in the 13 Moons membership, you already know me. But let's take a moment to do a little introduction for those that might be just tuning into these circles for the first time in some sort of recording. My name is Vina Lene Rachel. As I mentioned, my given name is Rachel. My spiritual name is Vina. Vina means channeler of the divine, voice of the divine, sound of the divine. And this is the spiritual name that was given to me in 2017 in my spiritual pilgrimage in India. And since then, I've integrated that within my given name. Lene is my middle name. It comes from my maternal line, and therein lies my full name here showing up to you. So this is our new moon circle celebrating the new moon in Aquarius and Lunar New Year. I do transmissions every new moon and every full moon to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the cosmos and how to align with this lunar portal. I operate my life by the moon. I run my business by the moon. I pretty much do everything by the moon and astrology. And this is the way that I've lived my life for nearly 13 years now. I'm excited to come to you tonight and tell you a little bit about how to work with this moon, maybe with some meditation or manifestation techniques, a little bit of work with crystals and gemstones and all kinds of other elements that this wonderful planet gives us. And I'll also tell you about some other cosmic events that are going to be happening in the next week that are important to note in this lunar cycle. If this is your first time tuning in through a recording, I want to welcome you into this space. You can always put your comments wherever you're allowed to put comments. This might be on a podcast, this might be on YouTube, it might be on social media, but wherever you find me, if you want to put a comment, feel free to put it. I will go back and answer those. And of course, if you're live here tonight, make sure that you put things in the chat if you have anything that you want to bring voice to. Speaking of bringing voice to things, this is a moon that is in Shravana Nakshatra in Vedic astrology, and I will be touching base on the astrology of this moon from both the east and the west. From the eastern perspective, this moon is in the star of listening and learning, and it's a great time to simply slow down, tune in, and pay attention to what the universe is trying to say to you right now, or maybe tonight, even in this moon circle. So I encourage you to maybe have something to record, write things down. Of course, you can always go back through the recording and review. Maybe you also have something to drink because we're going to be spending some time together tonight, at least about 45 minutes, maybe longer. And for those that are in the 13 Moons membership, we'll stay just a little bit longer together tonight as well. I have tarot cards that I'm going to be reading for this lunar cycle and this new moon. And I'm going to walk you through just a very simple breathwork practice to help you get into this refreshed mindset of walking into these next 13 moons. So if you don't know what any of this means, that's okay. I'm going to explain it. If you're right on that cosmic train with me, let's take the ride now. Let's start this circle by taking a few deep breaths together. Wherever you're at, can you find your posture? Maybe that is seated, maybe that's standing, but whatever feels best for you, find your spine, find the alignment of your vertebrae. Maybe close your eyes. That's up to you. But take a deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And just kind of let go at the bottom, let yourself settle in. Maybe let go of any physical tension that you're holding on to. When you're ready, again, deep breath in through the nose. Out through the mouth, maybe with some sound this time. Just kind of letting go, sighing things away, right? Also, when we vibrate the vocal cords, we activate our vagus nerve, and it helps us to relax and be more focused and present so that we can really pay attention to what we need to receive tonight. Let's do one more breath. Maybe this time you reach your arms out, overhead, away, whatever feels good for you. Deep breath in. Exhale, let everything relax. And let's center in and be here now. Let's start by bringing in other elements that you could be working with underneath this moon. Maybe it's during this new moon portal over the next few days. Maybe it's throughout this entire lunar cycle. Whenever we have a new moon, the sign that the moon is in is going to set the tone for the next 4 weeks until we reach our next new moon. So for now, with this new moon being in Aquarius, we need Aquarian-like things and energy to help align with what's playing out. For the earthly element, I always like to suggest some crystals and gemstones to work with. And basically, anything black right now could be really beneficial just to take away the negative, take away the old, take away whatever is stagnant, and help you to refresh and reset your energy. So I have this black tulsi around me. You see me probably wearing these beads a lot. These are just protective beads. They help to protect my energy. I did get these in India. But I also have other black crystals like this black tourmaline. You could have shungite. You could have black obsidian. There are many different black crystals that are going to take away any sort of negative energy so that you can have a more positive space or a more positive energetic field. Now, in addition to those sorts of black crystals, I do have a black shungite sphere. So this is shungite. It kind of looks like the moon. It's gray and black, and this comes out of Russia. This is a great stone for taking away any sort of negative frequencies. So negative energy like EMFs or any of that stuff that's floating around that might be impacting our sleep, our ability to meditate, our ability to focus in any way, maybe just our health and our wellness. I have a lot of shungite around the house. I also have a lot of organite just to take in those extra frequencies and help keep the energy a little bit more harmonious here in my safe spaces. So if you have shungite, embrace that. If you have any sphere dark crystals, embrace those because they remind you of a new moon. And of course, any moonstone, if you had that, you might want to work with that as well. I also like to work with crystal skulls during Aquarius season and underneath Aquarius moons because Aquarius is a thinker. They contemplate, they love philosophy, they like to tell a lot of stories both in their mind and in the real world. They love to learn. Sometimes they like to teach. It is a lot of energy in the mind and in the head and in the crown. So anytime you work with crystal skulls, you're activating more of the mind and the crown chakra. This is also a moon that wants us to listen and learn. From the eastern side of the world, this moon is in Shravana Nakshatra. Shravana is Sanskrit for hearing. And so this moon wants us to slow down, really turn within, maybe listen to the thoughts that are going on in our mind, but also listen to what else is speaking to us. Can we designate what's our voice and what's of maybe something else, some other influence? So crystal skulls can help you with that as well. But they also just help us download, they help us channel, they help us integrate things in that we're learning. They help us to develop new ways of wisdom. If you're pursuing anything new in the learning fields, you might want to have crystal skulls with you. Just a great crystal to have around right now. Finally, pyrite, which I have in this collection here. Pyrite is fool's gold. It does actually have minimum amounts of gold in it, but it does remind us of wealth and abundance. So perhaps this is a time of reflection for you. This is a lunar new year. It might even feel more like a new year now than it did on January 1st. However, we did have a new moon right at the beginning of the year, auspiciously this year. So a little bit more of that new beginning feeling, but maybe now this lunar new year, you're really feeling that vibe. You might be reflecting on your past. You might be thinking about this past year, these past 13 moons and what played out. And we want to focus on the abundance. We want to focus on what we can be grateful for. We want to think about the harvest that we've experienced. We also want to think ahead. What do we want to reap and sow in this future year? What do we want to gain? What are our dreams? And so this reminds us to hold on to those dreams while also holding on to the the gratefulness for how far that we have come. Because if we can't believe that we are thankful and grateful for everything that we've had so far, then we're not going to have more to be grateful and thankful for in the future. This also includes our past failures and our shortcomings, if we want to call them that. They're really so called labeled that because of us, right? But anything that we so called failed at last year or in the past, can we look at that now and can we see the wisdom in it? Can we see the gold in it? What did you gain out of the failure? Was there an important lesson that you learned? Is there some sort of mistake that you now won't repeat because you've matured out of that and you know better? You have hindsight now. Is there something that you did in the past that helped fuel you into a more successful venture in the future? Every encounter that we have, every experience that we have can be either neutral or positive for us if we believe it to be so. The universe is ever expanding. The universe is ever growing. We are in a positive space in this universe, not a negative one. So anytime we're thinking in a negative way, if we can just emotionally alchemize that and turn that around into the attitude of gratitude, so much can shift from there. So if you need help believing in yourself, if you need help seeing the gold in what you've gained in the past, or if you just need a little bit of help in believing in your dreams, get yourself some fool's gold, some pyrite. It is a little bit pricier of a stone, but it's not going to be the price of gold. It's going to be a much more affordable stone than that. And you can even get little bitty pieces that are like anywhere from about like $8 to $10. And you can keep one of those on you instead. This actual piece was a piece that was gifted to me, but was worth, with all of the complex in it, it's worth quite a bit. It's worth about $100, maybe more. So don't have to have $100 piece of pyrite. You can have just a tiny little square or stone. In fact, I do have a tiny little square stone somewhere around here, but I couldn't find it tonight. So those are the stones, the crystals, the earth elements I would suggest that you work with right now. You could also bring in the concept of cinnamon, because cinnamon is a quickening herb and it's going to help you speed up your manifestation, speed up acquiring your dreams. It's also just a great it's a great herb to use at the beginning of a month or the beginning of a moon cycle or the beginning of a year. So if you want to take a little cinnamon and kind of blow that across the doorstep, if you want to bring more cinnamon into your life, that's a great one to work with too. Now, I would also suggest smudging. If you have smudging sticks that you want to light up and get some sacred cleansing smoke about, that's a great thing to do right now. But you might also want to work with smudging through the element of water. So you can make a smudging spray with essential oils, or you can soak the herb and make a tincture in like an alcohol or a vodka or an ethanol. And all of that goes into the water to make a smudging spray. I like to use smudging sprays during Aquarius moons and Aquarius season because it connects us to both the water and the air. Speaking of, I think I got to clear my throat here. Full disclosure, I spent the day doing a Reiki level 1 attunement with a client, and the Reiki always really activates my throat chakra, so I might have some throat clearing to do tonight. But what I was getting to is that very thing, that lighting up the smoke right now would be very sensitive to me, so I'm going to use the water. But Aquarius, the sign, is known as the water bearer. And although they are the water bearer, they're not a water sign. They're an air sign. So we can utilize the power of air through aromatherapy and the power of water through a smudging spray to really connect to that concept. Now, smudging sprays I use just like anything else. I'm just going to give myself a little spritz kind of in a clockwise direction. I'm going to give you a spritz. I'm going to give the tech a spritz. Of course, this is water, so you want to be mindful, but just kind of spritzing our area that we're in, making sure that everything feels nice and clear. And of course, just spritzing out into the ether so you get a little bit of the frequency of the plant medicine in this spray as well. Speaking of plants, You might want to work with some plants right now. Air seasons, air signs love to connect to plants. And right now, with it being the beginning of the Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year, you might want to get your hands on a money tree. So I've got this money tree here in the background. I just picked this one up yesterday. And this is my business space at home. This is kind of my like homework office and filming space. And I have this up on my work desk. I had it up on my desk. Now I have it here just for display purposes, but maybe get yourself a money tree right now for good luck and for another reminder of abundance, just like that pyrite. Maybe stick a little pyrite on there. Although you don't want to get pyrite wet because it will give off sulfuric acid. So you want to be careful of that. But money trees are great. And also snake plants. So I didn't have a snake plant. I wasn't able to get one in time today because I was busy doing this attunement. I'm going to go pick up one tomorrow. But snake plant, because we're in the year of the snake now. Lunar New Year and Chinese New Year happen on the same day. And this is the year of the wood snake. We have not been in this energy since 1965. So it might be interesting to look back on that year and see what played out, because we're going to see similar things play out in a more modern way now. Also, thinking about 2001 when we were in the year of the metal snake will be a little bit different from those times, but there might be some things coming back around from 2001 again to us personally or on the collective. The snake plant is a great plant to have indoors right now, especially during winter times. It really helps to purify the air. It's one of those like top 10 NASA plants for air quality. So highly suggest getting yourself snake plant right now and just starting to tend to that a little bit. Maybe you infuse that plant with your intentions, your goals, your dreams. And every time you're watering that plant, every time you're giving it a little sunlight, every time you're taking care of that plant, you're thinking about how you're tending and taking care of your dreams. Or maybe that plant or the money tree, maybe they're reminders of your dreams, so that every time you see these plants in your spaces where you work or where you operate, you're reminded to keep working on your goals and to keep operating towards your goals as well. So feel free to get your green thumb on during this new moon and during this season, because air signs are very supportive for us to grow things. Some people are going to be planting gardens right now as well. So if you're somebody that gardens, you're probably starting to think about like planting your little seeds and getting them going, or whatever you want to plant in your garden. You're starting to um make a plan to execute. I just said plan and plant like 100 times, so I'm gonna quit. But yes, maybe you want to get a garden going and you're starting to just take the first steps on that as well. So we've talked about earth energy. We have talked about water energy. The fire energy could come from lighting up a smudging stick. It could simply come from the intentions of your heart, or using this aromatherapy spray, the smudging spray. We're also taking in fire because it took fire to collect the oil that I use to make this spray. Anytime we're using essential oils, we're bringing in the concept of heat and fire, because the oil is collected usually through steam distillation. So we've got to have that fire involved in the process. And this also goes to show you that you don't actually have to bring like fire to the table in your circle to have the fire element. You could meditate on fire. You could think about fire. You could feel the fires of your heart or your solar plexus. You could have other things that used fire to create them. The wind, the air, the smoke, we already mentioned. The air is coming from the smell of the aromatherapy. We also have wind in our breath. So we took those 3 sacred breaths at the beginning. That counts as the wind element in our circle. And my voice, just voice, bringing voice to things, you commenting on these circles, interacting in the chat if you're here in the membership. All of that is air element here and present. Finally, we have the fifth element. It's the ether. It is this digital space that we're using to connect, whether you're viewing the replay or you're in the present moment. It's a magical space because it moves beyond time. It moves beyond this dimension of physical space. So that means the frequency of these crystals that I brought in tonight, you're receiving those now. The frequency of these oils, while you can't smell this smudging spray, we don't necessarily have that tech yet, you can still feel the frequencies of this spray. So it all counts when you're in the ether. And that's why I like to use this space for moon circles. It's why I like to use this space to connect, because it's a very magical space. So we'll invite it in now. And we're also going to invite in the guides and guardians of the other four directions. And this is just another way to enhance these elements that we're working with tonight, and also to really make our circle more sacred and help the energy to be more focused with intention. I'm going to close my eyes while I do this invocation. You can certainly just hang out however you'd like. I'm going to start by inviting in the guides and guardians of the East with their element of air, the energy of Aquarius, the air sign of the cosmic water bearer, present now with this new moon, also bringing in that feeling of new beginnings, fresh breaths, and breathing life into things again, or breathing fresh air, maybe airing things out. There's a lot of power in the element of air right now and throughout this lunar cycle. So we thank the guides and guardians of the East with their air for being present in our circle. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the South with their element of fire. Fire is always burning strongly for us, helping us to get turned on with our heart's desire of everything that we're trying to manifest. We're also maybe embracing the fire of purification, being able to burn away and let go of what no longer serves, so that we can really step into this Lunar New Year renewed, freed, more open, less attached. We thank the guides and guardians of the South with their fire for being present in our circle. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the West with their water, showing up tonight with the water bearer of Aquarius energy. Also thinking about the snake-like energy that's activated now with this year of the snake, making us more fluid, fertile, and creative, making us a little bit more adventurous and exotic. Also thinking about how the water helps to purify us, just like the fire, washing, cleansing, helping us to maybe reflect as well, like staring into the reflection on the surface of the water. This element does hold time. So as we linger in these liminal spaces of endings and beginnings on the Lunar New Year, we thank the guides and guardians of the West with their water for being present in our circle. We also invite in the guides and guardians of the North with their earth elements, all these crystals and plants and other magical tools that we're working with. Also thinking about our ancestors, all those behind us, the history that we can look back on now to help better understand our future. Maybe even asking our ancestors for guidance as we move ahead. We thank the guides and guardians of the North with their earth for being in our circle. And finally, we invite in the guides and guardians of the ether, the fifth element, the Akash, all that ever was and all that ever will be. Maybe other beings, deities, angels, archangels, cosmic races, source energy overall. We invite it in however we need to receive it. And we thank the guides and guardians of the fifth element for being present in our circle. With that, our circle is just a little bit more open and sacred. Of course, if you have anything and you're here live, you can put it in the comments. I have mentioned this 13 Moons membership a couple of times. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I have a digital astrology and magic membership. We focus on astrology, but we also focus on the seasons, the high holidays, the wheel of the year, and also utilizing a little bit more magic in these times of the age of Aquarius, becoming more integrated with the metaphysical, other concepts, the ways of the woo. So if you need a safe space to explore that or want to learn more about that, you can join 13 Moons monthly or 6 months at a time or a year at a time. And if you go to my website, vinalene.com, you will find that. But this is where I live stream all of my new moon and full moon circles. And we do a little bit more in the live streams. My members and I get together and I do card pulls for all of them. I also do magical practices. I lead you through different magical practices, usually on the full moons, and more manifestation practices on the new moon. And all of that is not included in these recordings that I offer. So members, they get a full unedited recording of the circle in case they miss it with all those practices and card pulls and everything. But then, of course, I always take an edited version and just kind of put it out to the public. So if you want to dive in deeper and learn more with us about the stars and the ways of the woo, you can join 13 Moons. We talk about all this weirdness and this woo-ness because Aquarius is all about the weird. I've got my star sweatshirt on tonight. They love astrology. They love the metaphysical. They love the chakras and all these like different concepts because Aquarius energy is fascinated with the human experience. They want to take it all in. They want to study this humanness and all this behavior in this culture and this tradition and these celebrations and these rituals and just kind of learn about all of it. And air signs in general love to learn. They love to take things into the mind. They love to interact socially. They love to have conversation. They kind of love that student teacher relationship. But there is a particular attraction by Aquarius to try to understand all of it in one lifetime. So if you've ever met an Aquarius, they are probably flighty. They probably bounce from one thing to another very quickly, and they easily leave things behind and don't really look back. By the way, it's nothing personal. If you've ever been treated that way by an Aquarius, I promise they're probably not even thinking about you at all. It's just the way they operate. They have moved on to the next, and that's what they have the attention and the energy for at that time. They don't really have the ability to do a lot of multitasking. They like to kind of focus in on these things and just utilize them like one step or one outlet at a time. Aquarius is what I like to call the alien of the zodiac. They're very outer worldly. They think differently. They do differently. They kind of see a different perspective. They like to think outside the box. They like to turn things upside down. They like to shake things up. And part of that is because they are ruled by the planet Uranus. Uranus is the planet of rebellion and revolution. And it is a planet that encourages us to do a little different and go against the grain. Interestingly enough, Uranus is going direct after a 5 month retrograde cycle, and that's going to happen tomorrow. So, right in this lunar portal with the new moon, we're going to have this shift of Aquarius, its ruling planet, going direct in Taurus, the earth sign of Taurus. What this really means is that we're going to get more rebellious about how we support ourselves. We might be doing things a little differently when it comes to paying our bills. We might start to consider a more solo, independent lifestyle, less with the crowds, less with groups, more working for yourself, maybe, or the entrepreneurial spirit, CEO mindset a little bit too. Just Aquarius energy wants us to start thinking for ourselves a little bit more, but also thinking about how we can operate in a way that uplifts the entire collective. This is a humanitarian energy. This is an energy that wants everybody to have a good life and to feel free and to feel like they're taken care of. And so now, with this new moon in Aquarius and Uranus going direct in Taurus, it's time to really start thinking about how can we take care of ourselves? What can we do in our lives in order to acquire a more uplifted mood and frequency that becomes almost magnetically attractive to others and makes them want to live out the same type of life? This is also a life of being different during this time because the age of Aquarius is now here. So maybe things, Aquarius likes to breathe life into things and maybe breathe fresh air back into old things. So I can always say that this way of the world right now is very different from how it was 10 to 15 years ago. When I first got into this world of yoga and chakras and astrology and the moon and all of these other more metaphysical concepts, mystical concepts, it wasn't as accepted in general society as it is today. It wasn't talked about like pop trendy things like it is now. Pop trendy. I don't know. I was trying to say something there. Um, it's just not seen in the same way. Like we're a little bit more accepted now if we're in the woo and we're in the weird. Like it's not so odd for me to do Reiki attunements and read birth charts and do tarot readings, becoming much more mainstream. There's what I was trying to say. So we are in an opportunity right now, not only with this Aquarius season and this new moon in Aquarius, but also with it aligning now as we move forward with the age of Aquarius. We really have the ability to decide how we want to live our life. And do we want to do that in a way that truly does uplift humanity? Pluto, which is Pluto has been in Capricorn for a long time. It has now shifted into Aquarius. It's going to be there for the next 20 years. This is also going to help initiate us into more of this Aquarian mindset because Pluto is this planet of power and control. And when it's in Aquarius, it sort of gives up that power and control. It gives a little bit more leeway. It wants to be a little bit more collective. It wants to be more as like work together more as a team. We also have to think about Pluto relating to the underworld. There's going to be things that are brought back up that we're going to do differently or breathe fresh air into things. And we're starting to see that now, especially in North America with this new presidency. Like there's a lot of change and a lot of different happening all of a sudden, which is really interesting. Also notice how at the beginning of the year on January 1st, there were definitely a lot of changes happening like politically, even globally, but notice how much revved up once Aquarius season started. On January 19th, when Aquarius season started, like everything started changing really, really fast. And that is Aquarius energy in general. Very spontaneous, very flighty, very quick to like move around and do different and try things out. And you have to consider that air because the air element that Aquarius holds knows no bounds. It's ever expansive. So they're always going to be bouncing around and spreading out and doing things. And it might be a little up here and beyond what some people are comprehending and understanding. So if you feel like that's how you're navigating the collective right now, you're probably not alone. It's just Aquarius doing its like weird, wild thing. And eventually the energy maybe will even out, or at least we'll just get a little bit more accustomed to it over time. So with this new moon in Aquarius in your own life, what can you shake up? What can you do differently? How can you be different? Can you let your freak flag fly? Can you embrace your weirdness? Can you embrace what makes you weird and unique and different and special? Can you trust in your gifts, even if they're wild and wacky and different from the norm? Can you believe in yourself trying to achieve whatever it is that you're trying to live out, no matter how out there it is? This is the time to start allowing it all to happen. And even if you didn't feel like taking action on all of this a few weeks ago, now you will probably start to feel it more. So embrace this moon, embrace what it has to offer you. And new moon is always about like new beginnings or starting over, refreshing. But when it's the first new moon of the next 13 moons, the next lunar cycle and lunar year, it's a big deal. It's a lot of power for us to manifest and to set goals and really direct our energy. I also want to talk about Jupiter because on the 4th of February, not too long from now, Jupiter is going direct as well. Jupiter has been retrograde for quite some time, and now it's going to go direct in Gemini. And Jupiter is the biggest planet in our galaxy. And with it going direct in this Aquarius season, it's also reminding us to come back around to our joy, to what makes us happy, to what just really like lights us up inside. And we're going to start directing our life more towards that. We've got to start orienting our life more towards the things that light us up. Because if we can't glow and we can't light up, then our gifts can't shine. And if our gifts can't shine, then we're not leading our soul seated purpose here, our Dharma. And if we're not living out our Dharma, then what is the point? So get happy, get aligned with the things that you enjoy, and start allowing yourself to make choices that orient around that uplifted frequency all the time. Let's dance over to the eastern side of the world real quick, where this moon is viewed to be in the lunar mansion of Shravana Nakshatra. I already mentioned that this is the star of learning and listening. It is represented by an actual ear, and this is both the human ear and God's ear. So this is that concept of communication with source, but a two-way communication. So maybe not just like prayer and not just meditation, but both, the conversation going both ways. This is a time for us to get quiet and to listen to what needs to be spoken to us from source. This is also a time for us to speak out loud to source what we're desiring, what we're trying to find out, what we want to know, what we want to have in our lives. And maybe also just inviting in our guides, our guardians, whatever protective energy, guiding energy, our ancestors, whatever it is that we need, maybe just also inviting that in from source. So having this two-way conversation and downloading and integrating the wisdom is also important to do over this lunar cycle. Spend time in meditation, maybe journal what comes down after. Pay attention to your dreams right now, because the air signs are connected more to the mind, the head, the dream space. Maybe think about what you daydream on or space out on during the day. Really pay attention to the messages that come through and whether they are of you or of something else. Shravana Nakshatra is the birth star, or this moon is the birth star of Saraswati, which is the goddess of language and art and music and poetry and education and wisdom. So this is a time to maybe consider learning something new, or getting with some sort of teacher or guru, maybe attending a workshop or a webinar, maybe finding your inner guru and just letting yourself teach you. Remember that I mentioned going back and looking back at our failures, our shortcomings, and finding the gold, finding the lesson, finding what we need to gain out of it. That's when we can be our own guru and we can be our own teacher. So either way, whether it's that relationship of yourself or maybe another teacher, it is a good time to walk into learning more and expanding the mind right now. Also, because that Jupiter is going direct, Jupiter is kind of like the philosopher planet. They're the college professor. They love to learn and broaden their horizons as well. So having that happen at the same time where the theme is just happening with this moon also makes us have a desire to learn a lot more right now. I thought it was really auspicious that we happen to have I happen to have this Reiki attunement happening today one-on-one with this person, because what a perfect timing to be in this relationship of listening and learning and student and teacher. We can also think about the snake of the year of the snake coming in to remind us to get back to our own internal snakes, our Kundalini energy, our masculine and feminine energy meridians flowing up through our chakra system. This is a time to get back into energetic attunement. Speaking of attunements, it's a time to check in. How are you feeling? How's your energy feeling? Do any of your chakras feel blocked? Do you maybe need an energy session reflection, just to get a little bit more balance, to get refreshed. But this is also about the year of integrating both sides of ourself, all facets of ourself, masculine, feminine, yin, yang, Ida, Pingala, whatever you want to call it, embracing all sides of ourself, the weird sides of ourself and the normal sides of ourself, the spiritual sides of ourself and the human sides of ourself, right? The mystical side of ourself, the mundane side of ourself. And that's kind of my whole theme of what I do, weaving the mystical and the magic into the mundane. But this is specifically what this Shravana Nakshatra wants us to do. This year of the snake wants us to do. There's an integration that needs to happen right now with all sides of our self. So, year of the snake, get into your Kundalini energy, understand your chakra system, uphold the masculine and the feminine natures of yourself and anything else that feels like a duality. And then also come back to that concept of educating yourself along the way. You know, we're really becoming wiser selves when we uphold all sides of ourself, all branches of ourself, all experiences of ourself. We can't just block out the trauma. One of the things that I wrote about the moon this time around was that we can't play victim anymore. We almost like don't even want to play victim anymore, but we can't play victim anymore. We can't say, "Oh, woe is me for this thing that happened." No, that thing happened. And for whatever reason it happened, and we have to find the wisdom and the lesson out of it and the positive thing out of it. So very real thing for some of you that have been following my social media. You know that I recently went through a pregnancy loss. Maybe you don't know and you know now. I went through a pregnancy loss underneath the full moon of Cancer at 10 weeks pregnant. And it was a lot to go through, and I did want to voice what I was going through so I had support and I didn't feel alone in this journey that so many women feel alone in, and so many times I had felt alone in before. And I just said, no, like, not anymore. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share my story. I'm going to let people know what's going on with me. But I want you to know that I feel like in the past, I would have really held a victim state around my circumstance. So, also for those of you that don't know, this is my fifth pregnancy loss in like a 6 week or above. So, I'm, you know, processing that. But one thing that I can do with that journey is to remind myself that everything happens for whatever reason, right? So, like, this happened for whatever reason. Where is the gold in it? Where is the gift in it? Well, one of the gifts in it was that it really helped me decide, where does my energy need to go right now? Where do I feel most abundant? Where is the abundance not flowing? And am I spreading myself too thin by trying to have all of these things happen as the feather moves? Did you see that? Sometimes the universe has a way of being like, yes, 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 because I'm still on this journey, right? Still trying to figure it out. So that was a little confirmation of like, yes, you were spreading yourself too thin. But I have really looked back on this journey that I've gone through in the past 2 weeks, and I've tried to find the gold in it. I've tried to find the wisdom, the lesson, like whatever that is, instead of playing victim. And one of the lessons that I learned was to not go through things alone and not feel like I have to be alone in anything that I do, because I did grow up an only child until I was 6, but also just feeling very alone in my life. Like, grew up with a lot of trauma, and I felt very alone a lot of times. And even as an adult, I have felt very alone a lot of times, and I've had to go through very isolating circumstances, literally where I was isolated as a bubble girl for a year, but also just very particular circumstances that are rare, like health wise with either me or family members. There's just been a lot of things like that that have happened. And as I've gone into reflection on all of that, I've just found that no, like, I'm not here to go through it alone anymore. whatever it is that I'm having a struggle with, I'm not alone. I can reach out. I can ask for support. I can ask for to be surrounded in love, and it's going to help me get through it so much easier. I cannot even begin to testify how much easier I have navigated the healing journey of this pregnancy loss by reaching out and being public and not being private about it and just receiving that support and being seen and being heard, compared to the other journeys that I went on where it was agony. It was lonely. It was depressing. And I just felt like I couldn't talk about it for whatever reason. So that's my story to share, to be like, there is gold. There's wisdom to gain in every circumstance, even the ones that are heartbreaking, even the ones that are extremely emotionally disruptive. They all have their purpose as the feather blows. So, this is a little bit about what's going on right now. We have this year of the snake initiating us to accept our whole self, all facets, all sides. We have Shravana Nakshatra encouraging us to really listen to ourselves and to hear outside of ourselves and to hear ourselves when our body and our energy and our emotions speak to us, and hear what else speaks to us and really listen. We also know from the West with this Aquarius moon that we need to be more in the mind, really thinking about what we're doing. Why are we here? What's our purpose? I had this conversation with my Reiki client today. We need to be thinking about all the time, what is our purpose? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why am I doing this moon circle right now? Why are you tuning into this moon circle right now? Why do I brush my teeth in the morning? Why am I washing that dish? Why am I stopping at that stop sign? Why am I eating this particular food right now? Whatever it is, why are you doing it? Like, what are you doing truly, and why are you truly doing it? That's what this moon wants us to think about. And it also wants us to let go a little bit and lean into the winds of change, because a lot of change is coming. And we probably didn't feel this with the age with the new moon in Aquarius last year or the year before. We probably didn't feel what we feel now. There is a lot of change unfolding on the collective, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. We have Mercury going into Aquarius with this Aquarius season as well, and it's probably going to air out a lot of secrets. We already have a lot of that happening on the collective. I think it's only going to continue. I think there's going to be a lot that really disrupts, like the vrittis of our mind, is what we call it in yoga. It's like tornadic thoughts of disruption, but I think we're going to have a lot of anxious thoughts, a lot of wandering thoughts, a lot of curiosities, a lot of things that we're going to have to like play out and work out in the mind to better comprehend, integrate, and understand. There's just a lot of openness that you need to bring in right now underneath this moon to be better prepared. So get yourself more open-minded, become more open-hearted, and let yourself really believe in so much more than you've probably believed before. As I said, I like to call Aquarius the alien of the zodiac. So if you can believe in aliens, then you can believe in anything. All right, so this is what I have for you tonight as far as the cosmos, as far as what's going on with this new moon, maybe a little bit on how to work with it. I also have a tarot reading tonight, and I want to read these cards to you. Just a little bit more insight. I always pull cards to get some extra guidance. And then I'm going to lead us just through a quick breathwork practice to help seal up our circle. I'll go a little bit farther with my 13 Moons members, but for now, for all those with the recording, let's go over the tarot cards. So for this particular moon, I pulled from the Tarot of the Divine. I feel like we had to pull from the deck with the big moon on it because it's Lunar New Year. But this is a deck that also has an accompanying book called Beneath the Moon. This is by Yoshi Tani. And this particular deck is based on like tales and folklore myths from all around the world. But if you want the actual stories, the myths, the stories, the folklore, the tales, then get the book, because then as you pull the cards, you can read the stories that go along. You can also just Google these stories or internet research them. I don't know what you say these days. Google probably ages me, but look it up on the internet. Look up the stories of these cards if you'd like. I'm going to take a moment to take a deep breath just to ground in and center. And I want to take a moment to thank the tarot for being present in our circle tonight. Whatever messages they bring through, we hope that they are received and integrated in whatever way that best uplifts us to our next evolution. Thank you for being here. For our first card, past card, I pulled a reversed card, the Hermit. And I always see this as the Capricorn card. It's just how I see it whenever I see it. It's kind of this druid, which actually this is an Irish Celtic Irish legend of the druid and the stag, if you do want to look that up. But this age of Capricorn, it's behind us now, right? It's in the past. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. We also just moved out of Capricorn season and we've moved into Aquarius season. Different ways of thinking, less rigid in structure, less isolating, more about the collective, less about the self. Now, anytime we pull the Hermit, if it's upright, it's more about isolating ourselves, maybe doing some shadow work or going on more of a spiritual journey. Whenever we have it reversed, it's more about the reminder that we need to start integrating what we have learned from our spiritual pilgrimage, what we have gained from our shadow work. This is that integration of the gold from our past, the lessons that we have learned, the wisdom we have gained, even the education that we've started to receive, or whatever we've learned from a teacher or a guru. Now is the time to apply it. We can't always be in the spiritual work. We can't always be on the spiritual journey. You can't always be doing healing. Healing is not our only purpose in this life. Our purpose is to experience love and joy. And we can only do that if we start to integrate all of these lessons we've learned so that we don't have failures in the future. We don't have this sadness in the future, this disappointment, this letdown of expectation. Whatever comes along, we're better prepared and we're better able to handle it. I have been through, as I said in just a moment ago in the circle, I've had 5 pregnancy losses now. This 5th pregnancy loss that I just went through over the past month, I was much more prepared for it. I had gone through the journey alone and I didn't want to go through the journey alone anymore. So I asked for support and I went public with what I was going through. I had learned how to migrate the journey with my body before, so I didn't have to worry or need a doctor or need help. I just knew what to do with my body, and I knew how my body was going to go through things. It's time to apply what we've learned so that we don't suffer anymore and we can start to really move up into that more uplifted frequency that is the Aquarius goal. Also, it is the number 9 on this card, which I find is interesting because 2025, which we've just stepped into, is a 9 year. And 9 is about rebirth, 9 is about integration, 9 is about like taking the old and becoming the new. So perfect for our past card tonight. In the present, I pulled the Judgment card and it's upright. And this is from the Chinese legend of the Monkey King. And this is, in my opinion, about Hanuman in Hinduism. But either way, judgment reminds us to let go of judgment. And again, I mentioned this is a time where it's like the beginning of the year, it's Lunar New Year, we're maybe in reflection, we're thinking about our shortcomings. Try not to judge that. Try to hold yourself in more grace right now. Try to believe in yourself that you have been through a lot and that everything is working out for your greater good, and that there's still so much gold on the horizon. There's so much like of a bright future ahead of you. Like this monkey, it's looking off into its bright future. So remind yourself that everything is a learning process. Every person is a lesson. Every experience has some sort of wisdom to gain and help you grow. Trust the process. Finally, I pulled another reversed card for our future, which I think is funny because, you know, the past was whack and crazy and chaotic and our future is uncertain. And it's like the cards are just saying that now. But this is the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups, anytime it's upright, it's about not losing sight of what we have, like not focusing too far into the future or the goal to not realize what we have now. And as a reverse card, it's a protection message to say, hey, yes, you want all of these big dreams and these exciting things, and you want to become this new version of yourself. But can you just pause right now? Just take a sacred pause with this new moon and with this Lunar New Year and really think about what's in front of you right now that you can be grateful for. What type of person are you right now that you accept and love and are excited that you've become? Just don't get too caught up in the future. Pay attention to right now, because we have to have that attitude of gratitude in order to have more to be grateful for in the future. The number 4 is symbolic of the heart chakra. It's also cups are the heart chakra, or like water element, or kind of like our heart's desires. It's a little bit of the sacral chakra as well, and what we want. So again, as you're thinking about all you desire and what you want and what you're trying to manifest, what you're trying to create out of your heart's desire, remember to also hold space in your heart for the here and the now and everything that can be loved and appreciated in the present. I really like these cards for our Lunar New Year. I think they're great. This is a new moon in Aquarius pull. I'm going to do a larger pull for the whole next 13 moons to give you more insight. That'll be a separate transmission. But for now, keep these cards in mind as you start to navigate these first steps into the lunar year, and just kind of remind yourself that you're always on a journey. You're always on this path of learning, and you're here having this human experience for a reason. Your soul chose it. And everything you've gone through is a soul contract predetermined by your soul before you came down here into this human experience. So be grateful for it. Thank you for that lesson I just learned. Be appreciative of everything you have right now. And I promise you, you're going to have such a golden future in the not so near future if you keep operating with this mindset. This is what I have for you tonight, loves. I hope that you have a blessed new moon, Lunar New Year, and Chinese New Year. Celebrate how far you've come. Get excited for where you're going. I'm excited to meet with us again on the full moon in Leo. I'm a Leo rising, so I always love that Leo energy. And I love what the Leo moon always brings to us at this beginning of the year in this first lunar cycle. It's always a really playful, creative time. It's a time to maybe get back into charge of our life if we let things go a little bit. It's also a time to just believe in ourselves and what we are capable of. So right now, take the time to dream, to daydream, to think about it, to maybe journal on it, to write it down, to vision board, do all those things that you do to help you acquire your dreams. And here in a couple of weeks, we'll check back in and see how you're doing with that domination of your life, really ruling with this alpha energy and making it all come true. If you are here in the 13 Moons membership, we're going to continue on just a little bit longer. If you are watching the recording, I want us to end our transmission tonight with just a little bit of breath work, grounding breath work, because Aquarius can have us all up here. So palms are going to face down on the body somewhere, or maybe just down towards the earth. If you can, close the eyes if that's safe and comfortable for you to do. Take a moment to take a deep breath in through the nose, deep breath out through the mouth, and then closing the mouth, continue to breathe in and out through the nose, really lengthening the exhales. So making your breath out longer than your breath in, all traveling through the nose. Every time you breathe out, become more present. Feel yourself relax. Maybe let go of any thoughts that don't serve. Let yourself become an empty vessel, like the vessel Aquarius holds, ready to collect all of the water, the stories. And thinking about your story. Do you have that main character energy of your story, or are you falling into victim mode? Are you beginning a new chapter of your story now with this new moon? Are you writing an entirely new book? Is it time for a new story? Maybe think about the story you tell yourself on a repeated basis. How do you talk to yourself? What stories do you tell about yourself? Does that need to shift and change now? And keep breathing in and out through the nose, lengthening those exhales, sinking in, opening up. Really thinking about the concept of an open heart and open mind right now. Maybe creating more space in the mind and heart with each breath out. And we're simply going to be here in the present, breathing a little longer. Deep exhales through the nose. Just taking time to contemplate. Take maybe one more deep breath in and out. And when you're ready, gently start to come back, blink the eyes back open. Maybe you just take a moment to write down whatever came through in that short amount of breath work and meditation. Maybe you go back and repeat that practice for a little bit longer to see what comes up. So we're coming up on our hour together, even here with this additional time, and we're going to wrap things up. We're going to go ahead and end it so that you can dive into whatever practices you need to enjoy. I do hope that you have a very magical new moon. I hope that whatever has come through in this circle tonight has served you. And I hope that you join us for our next full moon circle on February 12th. That is a Wednesday. We'll be celebrating that full moon in Leo at 8 p.m. Central Time in the 13 Moons membership. So if you're on this recording, you can go to my website, vinalene.com. You can choose your membership. There is a 30-day free trial, I believe, on all of them. Maybe a 2-week trial on one of them. Regardless, there's a free trial and you can enjoy the membership and just kind of check it out, see what it's about, maybe view some past recordings of moon circles or just tune into this moon circle coming up on the 12th. But we would love to have you in the membership as we expand and broaden our horizons more in these worlds of astrology and magic. Until we meet again, may we all be happy. May we all be healthy. May we all feel peaceful and safe. May we all be loved, feel loved, love one another. And so it is. And normally I would take this time to release our guides and guardians of the 5 directions. But being the first new moon of the lunar year and being a very magical moon, I think that we will leave them here. If the guides and guardians need to leave, they will. They operate at their own accord, but we would like to have them feel welcomed as we navigate this entire next lunar cycle, or maybe up until that full moon in Leo. So hold on to your guides and guardians. Let them continue to nudge you in the direction that your soul needs to go. And until we meet next time, may you have a blessed lunar year.